What's going on? We Help Artists community. I'm here with a super special guest right here for you today. She's been making amazing waves in the independent space right now. And what she's doing is honestly groundbreaking. And I had to bring her and her team on so she could talk to you all. Introducing Kennedy Ryon with her team, her management, Kosh, and then the founder, co-founder of Kaizen Place, Ben. How are you all doing today? Kennedy, how are you doing?
The day is great. I realized I am a head ass because my purse matches my outfit. So the day is good.
Right,
Thank you for
right.
having us, of course.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think I just got to go ahead and start off just by giving you some flowers to say, everything that you're doing right now in the independent space is just super amazing. You're being an inspiration for a lot of people out there because you're doing a lot of things that are kind of unconventional for artists, but they're working and they're driving results at a way that never was seen before. So I'd say that, you're a bit of a pioneer right now with everything you're doing. So congratulations on all of your success, first and foremost.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, so I want to go ahead and let's just go ahead and kind of start from the beginning, right? So let's just kind of touch on, your journey as an artist, how long you've been making music, where you're from. Just give us a little bit of background about, how these things just kind of started.
Well, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, Bmore. I don't really talk about it enough, but before I fell in love with music, I actually fell in love with dance. Probably around maybe like first grade, second grade, was like really obsessed with Destiny's Child, studying Destiny's Child, was obsessed with like MTV Awards, watching their performances, Beyonce just like as a whole. And then we had moved from Baltimore to like the boonies of Maryland, like the Eastern Shore. And I was like, well, I can't take dance classes anymore. So I guess I have to start taking music more seriously. So around sixth grade, I'd gotten my first like rinky dink piano from Goodwill. I played the hell out of it, really just like learned how to play. When it came to singing, it was really just studying other artists on YouTube like 24/7. And really since sixth grade, I just found like a knack, like a huge passion for music. I started with like haiku poems initially, and kind of just from there have, I don't know, just been hitting the ground running.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's super dope. And then I guess what I want to know, I think a lot of people, what they want to know is, okay, so you started there, you started young and you kind of found your passion for music early. But when was the turning point when you started to quote unquote take things seriously, as an artist? Like, when do you feel was the beginning of your journey to where you are now?
These are always great. I feel like everything just like moves like this to a point where I'm like, I don't really take the time to be like, that was a moment. I'd probably say like November, maybe like September, November of 2021 is when I kind of started taking things seriously and realizing like, all right, nursing isn't working out, or like God's really being like, all right, you're not supposed to be doing this no more. Was selling furniture on Marketplace. That was starting to slow down. I was like, I have no fucking plan B. I guess I better start taking music seriously. And that was like I think September, November, around that time. I only had like 300, maybe 400 followers on Instagram. I only had like 4 or 5 posts up of like me singing like covers of songs. And I had someone in California actually reach out, like fly me out. That was like my first studio experience. And I guess having that experience and like working with other creatives, working with other artists, really for me was like confirmation of one, like, all right, this isn't your like end all be all moment. Like, this isn't the catapulting moment, but this is also the moment where you really have something. Like, I should really like start taking it seriously and like just fully pour myself into my craft.
Makes a ton of sense. Okay, that's super awesome. And at this point, I want to go ahead and start bringing your team in too. So, Kosh, You said that you play in like the management role. I'm sure everybody on the team's wearing a bunch of hats, right? But
Yeah.
from your POV, just, from your bird's eye view, where did you come aboard, and then where did you see things kind of take that turning point towards, her going from 300 to 400 followers to now almost 400,000 followers?
Yeah. So the early on, like she talks about in 2021, there was like signs of it, but there wasn't enough like brand equity or brand building done at that time for it to like pop really. So she had a few posts. I remember there was one night where she posted a cover of Amy Winehouse, and she grew like 100 followers off one post. And that was like a sign, like there's probably something here. Later on, probably like 6 or 8 months later during the summertime, she did an open mic with like probably 8 to 12 other artists. She only performed one song. She performed Jasmine Sullivan. I don't even remember what Jasmine Sullivan song it was, but she actually like slightly messed up the song and stopped in the middle of the performance and was like, oh shit, I fucked up. And then when I think I knew then though that it was gonna work, because there was about 100 people in this park watching, and almost the entire crowd was like screaming, no, keep singing. Like everyone was screaming, keep singing. And I actually was there to record that. So we actually even have that content from that time. But I think when it really popped was like around, it took about I would say it took about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. And that was about June of 24, May or June of 24. And she had a massively viral moment, like to the point where like her Instagram was freezing because she was getting so many DMs to request the song. She couldn't even like open the app without it crashing. And that was a wild moment, but that was really the moment that skyrocketed. She had various viral moments before that, but that actually grew the catalog to a place that was like making money for the business.
Yeah. And I think, a big key component of when we look at everything that you guys are doing is y'all were prepared for the virality though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, a lot of artists, they want that viral moment. They so desperately want that moment that breaks through and takes them to the next level of audience. But then when you finally have that moment, you're not even ready to capitalize on all of that. And so one thing that I think makes what you guys are doing special is the fact that you all have that system in place. And that's kind of been where I want to tap you in and say, what was your role and when did you come on board, as the co-founder of Kaizen Place and the person behind a lot of the tech and tools that you all are using and Kennedy is able to use to maximize on all the attention she gets? When did that come into play? Did you come on the board, and how did that all come about?
Yeah, I'll answer kind of how I started with this company, like the birth of that a bit, and then the transition of how we ended up partnering really closely with Kosh and Kennedy on a lot of this. It started originally as a slightly different concept, actually. And so I started it with my co-founder, Adam. Shout out to him because he's so involved in all this too. We started it as a platform for artists to release their music early, like before it's done, and then they would update it over time in public. So it was kind of a experimental, expression focused way for artists to monetize their process. And it was cool. But then things started to transition when we started to work with more and more artists. And then especially when we reached out to Kennedy, and the way that really happened, the honest story is we were like, hey, we love you and we want you to like talk about us. If you'd be down, we'll pay you some money to do that. Because we were just trying to be like, hey, can we get our name out there more with like artists that we really like? So we reached out doing like, hey, can we do like a paid partnership type of thing with you guys? And then immediately Kosh and Kennedy were like, hey, yes, also we like you guys. Maybe we can do some more stuff because we have lots of needs. And I think it was kind of like the beginning of them getting prepped for what you said, Silk. Like they were in the zone of prepping for being ready for the viral moments or the major growth and stuff like that, and having a system in place. And so, a lot of it had been and still is, as we continue to partner with them, like following their lead on what's coming up, what are your major problems, what are your biggest needs right now, how can we build around that. And so that just kind of formed the relationship from the beginning in that way. And so that was how it really started, like early last year. I think it was when we first really started working with you guys.
Yeah,
and
like
since
January of 24 or something.
yeah, that was the first time that we did like an early access release for Bloom, and then a few other songs, and that kind of like snowballed into more and more. So that was sort of the origins of it, to answer your question.
Awesome. Okay, so now Kennedy, in your own words, before that, were you already doing kind of what you're doing now, right? And let me get some context for those who are watching this. So if you're not familiar with Kennedy Ryon, please go check out her Instagram just so you can see firsthand all of the cool stuff she's doing. And you'll be able to see that she's using keywords in her captions that are able to trigger actions, right? So in your own words, Kennedy, were you doing any of that kind of stuff before you connected with Ben in the Kaizen place? And, how did you feel about doing that once you did start doing that? Because, a lot of artists get nervous about asking their audience for something because they're worried about what if nobody interacts? What if nobody replies? So one, were you doing that before y'all all connected? And then two, how did you work through like the stage fright, if you had any, of asking people to take an action?
Damn. I feel like this is a great question, but this is also, I feel like, more of a Josh question. Because my memory is not serving me right now. And he mainly came up with like the mini chat, like going that route as well.
Okay. Well, with that said, I'm going to swing it to Kosh here in just a second, but I also want to just hear about when you started to do that, right? And just put that out there where you're asking for somebody, comment the word tour and I'll send you tickets, right? How did you feel about that? What emotions did that evoke as an artist? Did you feel a bit on edge, nervous about that? And how did you personally overcome that, just by seeing it work? Or, what did you feel?
I definitely was nervous. One, it was new. I wasn't really seeing it be done by anyone else as much, if at all, at the time. But also, two, just nervous or kind of like anxious because I didn't want people to feel like I'm trying to like sell them something. Or sometimes also, two, people's attention spans, no disrespect to people, because my attention span is not the best. Just the attention span, and you're asking people you're like directing them to do something else. But mainly just anxious. I didn't want people to feel like I was like a product or something.
Right. And then I'm assuming as you started seeing it working, it was easier for you to become more and more comfortable with seeing it play out, right? Okay. All right. So now, Kosh, yeah, she said that you kind of played a key role in kind of making that all come to life. And that's definitely a key component of everything in the machine you guys have created. So talk about that from your perspective, just, how that came about, how you came up with that idea and, just your experience in general there.
Yeah. So I think that what I was seeing is there was this tool, and then we were able to capitalize on it with Kaizen, and other people were using that tool to get people to take action on things that they were doing. And I was also realizing that like link in the bio at that time was kind of like becoming, people were becoming kind of like tone deaf to that. And so I was like, well, I don't really see anybody doing this in music. And that's kind of a lot of where my strategy comes from. Like I started in consulting and marketing. So I applied a lot of those strategies to just music, because I felt like if they've worked here, why can't they work here? And so in regards to that, I was just like, this might be an avenue to collect like people's phone number or email or some data that we can then reach out to them. And that could be like the game changer for like our business. But what I didn't realize and what came to pass, and I say this humbly, but also with confidence, like I think we may have been the first like artists to really do this around that time, which was like beginning of 2024. What I didn't realize was that it actually made the streaming even better. So like the amount of streaming that happened because of it was like probably tenfold what I could have even imagined. And I think that was because we didn't make people jump through hoops in order to go listen to a song. They were able to access it very quickly. And we were also able to get like their email or their phone number. And that allowed us to like have an email list now of like I think we have over 23,000 people.
Wow.
And that was in a short period of time. You know, that happened in about a year. So, and it would have been even bigger than that, but you want to be smart about who you're still reaching out to if they're not like engaging with the email. So we unsubscribed a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll comment on that too, actually. I think like, because I'm thinking about even the people who are going to watch what we're all talking about right now. A lot of artists are going to watch this and are learning so much from it. But I think that like something that I have learned so much from Kennedy and from Kosh is like the relationship is there between you and your fans. And so that alone removes a ton of fear around like, are we being weird about like encouraging them to go listen to the music or take action on this thing I'm offering, whether it's the tour tickets or whatever, because it's just so clear, like the value is there in the art and the person.
What's good? I hope you're enjoying the video, but check this out. You're actually late. Our community members get early access to everything that's on YouTube and access to the stuff that never makes it here. Like our exclusive courses, like access to funding and everything we have inside of here, all of the resources and tools that'll help you market your music, level up your career, early access to conversations, funding, and let's not forget a community of over 400 members that you're able to network with all across the US and the globe. So if you want to go ahead and really level up your career, hit that button in the description, join the community today, and we'll see you inside. Let's get back to the video.
Of Kennedy Ryan, and people want to be closer to that, to the music, to the person. And so you guys and you know, this whole team, I think does an amazing job at just like, it's not a weird ask. It's actually just making it easier for your fans to do the thing that they're trying to do. They want to be closer to you. They want to be involved in your story and your career and stuff like that. So like the removing of the clicks, you know, to get to something or things like that, it's really benefiting the fans. Because it's not something that like you're having to fight to try and sell. So that's one piece of it, just like a perspective also. Sure, maybe from the tech side of providing like the accessible tools to set that up, but even just from the like fan side of things, I think that's how it feels even to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only other piece I wanted to add to that is, to Kennedy's point, I think a lot of artists are nervous about asking people to do something. I think that's just like the standard emotion that most people feel in life, but pushing through that is how you succeed. And also, the piece about selling a song, the big piece about that is songs sell everything. Like songs drive millions, probably billions of dollars in advertising in the world. It's easier to sell a great song than it is to sell anything because you're not really asking for a lot. You're just asking somebody to go listen.
Yeah. And Ben, did you want to add something there?
Sorry, yeah, one more thing. I also don't let me keep going for too long. I'll take over.
You're good.
No, I'm kidding. I think also like even the messaging that now I tell so many other artists that I work with and other artists using Kaizen Place to do this is pointing out how impactful a fan's support goes a long way too, because like we were just saying, like the fans want to be a part of the story and want to see something win that they believe in. So that kind of messaging is so effective and it's just authentic and real. Like whenever Kennedy's like, you know, when you support me by purchasing early access, it lets me keep doing this bigger and better. And like that kind of messaging, just goes a long, long way. It's not like, hey, like timid, if you want to support me, that'd be awesome. No pressure though. It's like really encouraging, something that I think everybody wants to do, which is like, let's make this happen.
Yeah, I think all of that is very insightful. And now, you know, Kennedy, I think one thing that I thought was kind of smart and kind of depressurized things, the way you asked as well, because with a lot of the things you do, it's like DM me the word tour or DM me the word this or that. And so for those artists out there that feel nervous about asking the audience, nobody knows but you how many people DM'd you. So that can kind of take some of that pressure off if you're worried about maybe using that action to say, hey, comment this. And then, you know, it's front facing where people can see how many comments you got. By asking for those DMs instead, that kind of takes away some of that pressure. So can you talk about some of that? Like, what were some of the things you felt you had to do in order to make yourself comfortable, you know, putting yourself out there, not just asking people to do stuff, but just in general, as in your journey as an artist, you know, how have you overcame, you know, those doubts and uncertainties as you started to level up just as a whole?
Okay, well, I'd say it's still definitely like a daily work in progress. I still have my moments. I'm an anxious Annie, bro. Like I overthink every single fucking thing. It really is just like being true and authentic to self, and just understanding like there are going to be times where like risks have to be taken. I'm gonna have to do things like out of my comfort zone. But also to just not, this sounds terrible, but just not really caring or like valuing to an extent what other people think, and just trusting the process and trusting in what we're doing. I can't say that enough, but also my main point, even though I'm a huge overthinker, would just be not overthinking shit and just trusting it. There's going to be ebbs and flows. I'm not going to get it right every single time. We're not going to get it right every single time. Like, even when you lose, you win, bro. Like, just the ebb and flow and just not overthinking shit.
That's a fact. And then I think also something that you could touch on too is, you know, they see and they'll check out your Instagram and everything you're doing to see all of the viral moments and all of the success, but also talk about how, hey, every post doesn't go viral. Every post isn't a smash hit. And how do you get over that and just get used to the process of posting content consistently, and you stop just depending so much on the algorithm? Like, how do you get away from that? Because so many artists are so worried about what the algorithm's doing and it's not showing their content. So what would you say as somebody who's had a ton of virality? Is it the algorithm, or is it the content that doesn't connect, or is it a combination of both? And just what do you think about, you know, posting content as a whole and not getting so caught up in the numbers all the time?
Wow. I'd really just say like the numbers to me at least, they matter, but they're not like the main thing that matters. Like I'm really just always hyper focused on longevity. The main thing that matters is like consistency and being consistent. Posh would always tell me like the trend is your friend until it ends. So when it ends, you still just have to continue being consistent. You have to post. I think for I did a cover of Yeba's Evergreen, and I think that took what, maybe 6 times to post that in a matter of, I could be wrong and my math would be terrible. Like I want to say like 3 months ish maybe before that really like skyrocketed and took off. I had to post that like more than once. I think mainly one, just trying to chase the algorithm. There's so many like trying to reach current followers that I had, reaching other followers. But I think the main thing is being consistent. I'd also would just like to add, I'd say right now too, a lot of questions that I get from other creatives or other supporters who support me and are also creatives is like, they're always so hyper focused on the algorithm or hyper focused on going viral. And I'm always like, virality only lasts for just a moment in time. Virality does not equal longevity. So I guess my little piece to add into your extra would be like, I really, for me, try not to focus on the theatrics of it all. And by theatrics, I mean like angles, color grades, uh, outfits, like really just focusing more so on the music and like making sure like, because I feel like, at least for me, like for what I see, majority of people, majority of creatives are focused on color grades, they're focused on the visual, they're focused on the numbers. And it really is like, okay, you could upload this fire ass visual for this fire ass short, but did the song that you put underneath the short, did that do anything? Or people attracted to the music? Were people able to be like, oh, this visual is fire, but also this song is fire, and get off of the app and go stream the song and then go look at the rest of your catalog? So I think for me, I try to worry less about the numbers, because sometimes numbers can be fleeting. Sometimes you could be someone's cup of tea today and not their cup of tea tomorrow. That's okay. So I really just say my main thing is forget about the numbers and just focus on the music, because I really want the music to stand the test of time.
Wow. Yeah. And
I just sorry.
no, we're here for you. That's, that's something that a lot of artists overlook. They want to talk about, the algorithm. They want to talk about the content strategy and this and that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the thing that ultimately makes your system work so well is the fact that the music is actually very good. It's actually connecting with the audience. And when you have a good musical product, that makes everything else easier, because you can always get a better camera. You can always figure out better content and strategies around it. And that's why having the team you have is important. But the core of it all is that music, and you definitely have that down. Now, Kosh and Ben, I want to kind of tap you guys in here to say, with somebody like Kennedy that has such amazing, strong music, the power of team is also super important. And I think that's something that's undervalued by a lot of artists, right? They want to wear every hat and they don't see the value in bringing somebody on board at times. Talk about, your experience, Kosh, just as a manager, and some of the hats and the roles you play that make this system go as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, early on, we have different people on the team that handle different things, but for the most part, on a day-to-day basis, I'm doing almost everything, right? So that could be from shooting the content with Kennedy to editing it to posting it to making sure that the business side of things is done on music, in terms of like the splits on a song, or paying somebody for their input, like their contribution to a song, handling email requests, handling all these things. You only have so much bandwidth. I mean, we're even at a point now where I have to bring people on because I only have so much bandwidth. So I think your point about having a team, I think the biggest piece of having a team, though, is the collaboration aspect. Kennedy can come with an idea. Kennedy is a true artist. So she can come with an idea and say, yo, I just had a download. This is what I think we should shoot for this song, for this piece of content. And then I can go be a producer and go make sure that that happens. And you have like less friction between what's in your own mind and yourself. Because there's a lot of times that I see, even when Kennedy talks about being nervous about doing things and pushing through and trying to just move forward despite feeling uncomfortable, you need people around you to like affirm what you're doing so that you do something. Because if you do nothing, then nothing's going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. I know that's kind of less practical, but yeah, it happens a lot.
No, that's well said. That's absolutely well said. And then, Kosh, I'll also ask you, just how did you and Kennedy connect at the beginning as well? Just, was this organic? Just how did that relationship even start?
Yeah, so it was very organic. So our whole team, except for the Kaizen part of our team, is based in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I basically, in Atlanta, there's always something happening. There's always an event going on, and there's tons of people that quote unquote work in the music industry or make music. So I was at an event. I met Kennedy at this event through a mutual friend. And then we just had a conversation. At that time, she wasn't even, I remember asking her, like, what do you do? And she's like, I do medical. And I was like, oh, so you're not creative. And then she like completely shut that down and was like, no, I am creative. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. What do you do? She's like, I sing. I'm like, okay, cool. You sing. Like, I live in Atlanta. Everybody sings. Like, great. And then it wasn't until like a couple weeks later where we meet up again. And I'm like, let me just hear you out. Like, let me just see what you got. And so we do that. And I start to hear these voice memos. And I'm like, oh, Kennedy is really like, this voice is out of here. Like, there's no way you can, it's an undeniable voice. So at that point, I'm like, oh yeah, this is crazy. But what I didn't realize was that she could write. So when I found out she could write, I was actually like real deal in real life shook. Like, there's a video of me recording her in the studio with her producer Swanky. And this was like the first session they ever had. And she's like, hey, I have this idea for a song. And they're just like doing it like a cappella. And I was like, you wrote that? Like, I couldn't believe that she wrote it. I thought it was like an Amy Winehouse cover or something. And she's like, yeah, I wrote that. I was like, oh yeah, it's out of here. Like, there's nothing else I need to hear at this point.
Once again, we're pointing right back to the music. And, you know, I just think that's so important to just touch on, you know, because, you know, in a world where there's so many people giving artists advice, you know, the hard part that they don't want to swallow a lot of times is just, hey, it's just probably the music. That might be the core root of the issue. You know, and that's something that's not a problem here. And that's what makes everything go easier. You know, now, Kennedy, before I throw it to you, Ben, Kennedy, I want to ask you, you know, some advice on that. You know, what do you think when it comes to that? You know, was music always strong for you as far as your songs always connecting with the audience? Was that something that kind of was always happening from day one, or is that something that evolved over time? And do you have any advice for musicians that are struggling for their music to connect with the audience as well?
I would say, humbly speaking, yes, the music is always connected with my audience, but I say my music is always connected with my audience because even though in moments it can be uncomfortable, but I'd say I'm willing to be vulnerable and speak from like a place of real lived experiences in my music. I'm willing to kind of just be, but again, I'm gonna say it again, just be vulnerable, talk about real lived experiences, my life, pain, hurt, heartbreak, trauma. And I feel like the music connects, again, one, because I'm being vulnerable, I'm speaking my truth, but I feel like it also connects with the audience, because sometimes I feel like it's one for me, but also even just with my favorite audience, artists like Bob or like Amy, they're able to, and we're able to articulate lived experiences and real life experiences in ways that I felt, but wasn't able to like really word or like fully understand. So I feel like that's one of the main reasons why it connects. I would say to advice that I would have for other audience, Lord have mercy, Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. Advice that I would have for other artists would just to be, again, just to be vulnerable, speak your truth, don't care what anybody else thinks. But I also think my main thing that I also say to is, after me, then you. So I always create from a place of, this song is for me, I'm putting everything out there. I'm not writing this song to appease anybody. I'm not writing this song so that I can go #1. I'm not writing this song so I could get X amount of followers, X amount of clicks, X amount of virality. I'm writing this for me because this is what I need to hear. This is what I need to feel. This is what I need to get off my chest. And then once I put that out, it has nothing to do with me anymore. It has everything to do with the listener. It's the listener song now. They get to connect with it how they need to connect. So I'd say that'd be my greatest piece of advice is make what, for the artist, make what you need to hear. Like the rest will follow. Don't make music because this is what's popping right now, or don't make something and try to be this other artist. Like, just be yourself, make what feels good to you, make what sounds good to you. The rest will follow.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like I
super well
always
said.
get so like my tone is always like because I'm so passionate. So I'm sorry.
No, that's why it's working. The passion is why it's working. So, we really appreciate that. And that's very well said, because artists are, a lot of artists are chasing the trend or chasing what's popular because they want to go viral. But being your authentic self, there's only one of you. So I think that's very well said.
I do
Now,
want to
Ben,
I do
okay,
want to add
Josh, yeah.
one addition to that though, because I think that may get misconstrued a little bit. It doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want if it's not good, right? So I
Yup.
think you also have to just, one thing that I want to add to this that I think is really important is because Kennedy's music has always connected with people since she started professionally, that happened because she spent her entire life in her bedroom listening to music and making music over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of, it's kind of like that Kanye 2 beats a day, whatever, 3 beats a day for 6 summers, whatever the fuck. That's really important piece to understand though, because although you may be doing it for you, and I think there's an element of that that's really important. If you want to be commercially successful, you're going to need to know your music is going to need to feel closely competing or as good as what's happening in music right now,
Yeah.
even if it
That-
sounds sonically different.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, the core rules still apply, right? And just when it comes to Kennedy, her creating what's authentic just also happens to be something that resonates in the marketplace as well. And that is a product of what you're talking about, right? That repetition. We're not painting a picture like, hey, she just woke up, went to the studio one day, never made a song ever before, and was viral. No, there was a lot of time, energy, and effort. And Kennedy, do you want to just make that clear real quick? Because I feel like a lot of times, artists hear these kind of interviews and they just think, oh, I woke up tomorrow and I was a superstar. Talk about, the repetition, the practice, all of the effort that it took even for you to get this good.
My adrenaline is like going right now because I'm anxious. So please forgive me. No, I did not wake up one morning and was like, I got this shit in the bag. Like, no, and still I'm still getting my reps in, still climbing the ladder. I started music like first grade, second grade, but I wasn't like making my own songs, just being around the house, being annoying, singing, wouldn't shut the hell up, studying Destiny's Child, studying Amy Winehouse, studying Bob Marley. And then, like I said, I really got into music around like 6th grade and really just allowed myself to escape. I studied artists like Bob, I studied Amy, I studied Pink, I be forgetting, and Lord have mercy, forgive me. I studied John Mayer like crazy. I was obsessed with John Mayer. Bob, Amy, Pink, Gavin DeGraw, Sarah Bareilles at one point, Whitney, and really just using YouTube University and like watching how other artists would like use their, most artists like they enunciate just like if they do a run and it's like, or some like they do a run and like their mouth doesn't move, or visualizing like how they can go from like chest to head, listening to Ray Charles and Louis Armstrong and like different melodies, Nina Simone, and just understanding like how to use like different tonalities. When it came to writing, I didn't wake up one morning and was like, I wrote a masterpiece. Like I first started out doing poetry and haiku poems, and I'll never forget. That was another defining moment where I low-key forget until I'm like having conversations, or like in 6th grade. I just moved to like a predominantly white town. There really weren't many people like me that were there. And we had like an assignment in class to like write a haiku poem, and I still wish to this day I fucking saved that poem. But it was like, and I remember like reading it off, and the teacher like, what the fuck is this? And I think that was like another moment where I was like, okay, I can cook a little bit. I think I should keep going with this because it feels good. But I also too at one point like took a 7 year break from music because I was in an abusive relationship. Um, didn't really sing, wasn't dancing, like nothing. Well, I sang, but I would like sing for my patients when I worked in medical at that time. And then coming out of that, it really again was like relearning piano because I wasn't playing piano. It was again jumping right back into poetry. It was again restudying all of the greats. And that still is like something that I do daily. Like before a show, I'm watching another artist performance. I'm studying Beyonce before a show. After a show, I'll decompress and I'll go straight into studying again. So I just never let my foot up off the gas. Even when I reach like the level that I visualize myself at, I'm still study. And my biggest advice would be consistently write. I don't do it enough. I don't write in my journal, but I'll write like lyrically, or even just in moments where I don't have the energy or the full capacity to say, like, produce a record. I'll just be like, let me just throw on a sound really quick. Let me throw on a little sample, freestyle to it, maybe throw something into GarageBand. Now I have no shame in my GarageBand game. You don't need all this cool technology. Just start in GarageBand. But I would just say, even still, I'm what they could say, sharpen the iron, something. But consistently, just I don't want to ever lose that. I don't want to ever get lazy with that. So I know I just yapped and had a full TED talk, but study, and only study the greats. If you're gonna study a great, study Bob. I say study Bob. Really just lyrically. I really chalk up my ability to tell stories just from him first and foremost, because he was just such a prophet. But I'm gonna stop because I'm so anxious. I'm just so excited that my mouth is literally trembling in this moment.
No, we appreciate it, and everything you're saying makes a ton of sense, and that's real. You know, it's not this overnight thing. It takes all of those hours to become the overnight success for you all to get to the moments that you guys had in 24 where it all breaks through and now it starts to work. That was years in the making, right? And so now, Ben, I want to come to you because, you know, we have an amazing artist with Kennedy. We have an amazing management with Kosh. And then we have this tech with Kaizen place that is, one, eliminating the need for a lot of other tools and putting a lot of tools that artists need all under one roof. And it's the engine that's helping things go to that next level. So from your perspective, I want you to just talk about, you know, the value of Kaizen, just let people know what Kaizen is, and then just the valuable role it's been playing in, you know, making things go to the next level when it comes to Kennedy's career as well.
Sounds good. Man, I have a few things to say. So still feel free to rein me in here if you feel like you want to guide the conversation. But first of all, it's actually great to hear more detail, Kennedy, like, because, you know, I don't know how often you go into that amount of detail about your story, but it's such a good reminder, even to me, about just the path, and like there's so much to learn from that. So I appreciate you going into detail on that. And also, you guys might find this interesting from my perspective, because you know, Kaizen place, me and Adam and our team, we're a little bit more outside of the Kennedy Ryon team than maybe a few others in it. But we partner with them in like the perfect way for all of us. We're happy with the partnership. And so I think that I can observe some things that are kind of interesting here. And so this might come out half-baked, but it's interesting that we're talking so much about the music again, rather than the tech or the numbers and things like that. And I want to give some of my perspective on it. I think that because there might be artists watching this going like, oh man, like I haven't studied the craft of like my idol artists for a long time. Like, does this apply to me? And it does. And I want to point out the value of Kennedy and how that encourages the value of other artists. I think that the music itself is, this is going to be so half-baked, bear with me here, it's definitely a medium, right, for a message. And Kennedy is able to do that in a way that is not normal. It's very rare to be able to have a tool that can do that in such a special way. And so that's just like a gift that should be cultivated. And what that does is it does always go back to just connection and relationships. And I think that everything that we're doing here, and maybe I'll feel differently tomorrow, this is what I'm feeling today, is that everything that we're doing here around the music is about connection and relationships. And so it doesn't actually matter whether it's the quality of the music, the numbers and the marketing strategy, or the tech that's actually supporting that. It's actually all going back to how do we create connection and a sense of belonging and relationship. And so like Kennedy's forte there is, how do I do that with my authentic, in the most vulnerable way out of anybody here, you know, being so vulnerable with her own story and messaging to make that happen, and through a medium that's so powerful to do that. And then from my perspective, Kosh, like for you, you're going, how do we maximize the potential and the growth and some of the messaging on other formats around this, and like set a trajectory that's going to make this really successful. And then where the tech side comes in as well is like, how do we create a system that does two things? It captures quality relationships and it helps nurture those relationships, but it also, I think, makes it much easier for an artist to manage doing that. So, you know, I think that from my perspective, Kennedy and Kosh are an incredible pair, because Kosh enables Kennedy to stay in her creative zone and her forte to like really provide that value that we're all talking about is just so rare and is there. And then where the tech side comes in is very similar, where like to actually know who your fans are and have a nurtured, authentic relationship with them and build that over time, whether it's through like a contact list or just like less clicks in letting them take advantage of something that they want to do to support the artist, things like that. That's kind of where we come in. But again, it just all goes back to like connection and relationships, from my perspective. So we're all contributing in different ways to that, I think. So I don't know, those are just some observations, but I guess to more explicitly answer your question, a lot of the tools that artists believe they're supposed to be doing that are kind of obvious, as well as some more specific ones that are really advantageous right now, is what we have just in one platform to make that super easy to do. How do I cultivate relationships? How do I know who my fans are? How do I actually open up avenues for financial support? And so it's everything as basic as email and text campaigns to things as specific as our early access links, which is like if they're going to release a song 2 weeks before it goes to streaming, they can do that through an early access link, use it to collect email and phone numbers or generate more revenue, add an upsell in there that's like, hey, I also have this EP that maybe you didn't hear before. Do you want to take advantage and listen to that as well for some extra money, and things like yes or no? The pre-saves, and then on the release day, it switches to your streaming links. So it's like, how do we just make this whole thing brainless and just way easier to do for all these artists who are really pursuing this? Which, final thought here, kind of looping back to the beginning here, I think that since the relationship is the most important part, I think if there are artists who are like, my voice isn't spectacular, or I don't know how to like songwrite as well and stuff like that, I see artists all the time, we all do, who like their music is once again a medium for a relationship. And sometimes the relationship between that artist and their fans is the highlight of everything. And the music supports that. And so I just want to encourage other artists too to think that way, where like, don't let the music be a blocker either. Things can get to a point where your music is becoming like an incredible piece and so aligned with what you're doing, but sometimes just that culture and the relationship is what really drives things in the beginning. So that's a big part of also kind of what we help artists do.
Well said. Very well said. You know, Kosh, I want to throw it to you on that, you know, just from your POV as, I guess, just, you know, overseeing this kind of whole operation. what are some of the things you're noticing, you know, from the strategies that you guys are implementing, you know, Kaizen and this other things you all are doing, you know, marketing wise, just as a whole, that you feel like, hey, these are the most beneficial things I've noticed, or pieces that you think are of the most value?
Yeah, I think it's first and foremost, it's money, right? I think within the first probably 6 months of using Kaizen, it was less than a year of using Kaizen, we made like an additional $10,000 in that short period of time. So imagine, even if your catalog, to Ben's point, even if your catalog on streaming isn't making you that much money, you're building real relationships with people who want to support you. And what I see, to take that a step further, to answer your question, is you'll have supporters who want to pay 10 times what you're asking, right? Like, there's a guy who came to one of Kennedy's shows, and the ticket price for his ticket, because he got like the highest ticket with the meet and greet and everything, is like $200, right? But he decided to spend $2,000. That's what he wanted to spend. So that right there shows you like that relationship. And then now you can nurture that relationship, and you can come back to people and you could say, well, here's what we're doing now. Do you want to be the first to take action on this because you were one of the first to believe in this thing that I did before? And then there was another person who bought one of two, because Kennedy wrote two of them, literally a piece of notebook paper like this with her lyrics on it for $500 to frame it, right? We put it in a frame, we sent it to them, it's on their wall, they took a picture of it, they put it on Instagram, they said, oh, I never had anything to put on this wall now, and now I have this, and that means something. And then you do a tour, or you do a show, and then that person comes to the show and you meet them and you understand like that whole relationship even more. And so I think Ben described Kaizen Place perfectly. And it's like almost like you're creating evangelists for what you're doing. And these people want to advocate for what you're doing, but you can't know that. Most of the time, you can't know that well through social media because it's not built for you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I mean, essentially, you guys are empowering the super fans, right? You're giving them the tool to even pay you, right? And that's something that I talk about with artists a lot of times. They simply aren't giving themselves the opportunity to be paid because they're just putting their songs on streaming. They're using the standard, method. They're, promoting it once on Instagram, saying out now, and then hoping to make enough from streaming. And they're not even using a tool like Kaizen to get paid. And so now, Kennedy, as we start to wrap this, I want to know from your viewpoint, what do you think are some of the things that generate you the most sales? Like, is it the early release? Is it the tour? What are the things you've noticed resonate the most with your audience?
I say again, just being vulnerable, but also that just being vulnerable, but also wanting to establish and have a like close-knit relationship with my supporters. Just kind of how, like, touching back on how you were just like, some artists, not all, will just be like, out now, go stream it. But there's no like cultivating like any close knitness. There's no cultivating like that, almost having like a storyline to it, or having people like look into it further about the song that you're releasing. But it also is just, I'm not just a product. I'm not just selling you something every single month. I'm not just telling you to DM me this word or go click this link. I'm also taking the time too as well to get to know the supporters, but also allow the supporters to get to know me on a personal level and be more personable versus just being like, dropped another one this month, dropped another. Like, no disrespect, but just having a relationship, building community, really just building family with my supporters, because I don't just want to be like, hi, bye. Like, I actually, I say yeah, but getting to know supporters and then allowing them to get to know me. I'm telling you a story. The story is true. And also we're just growing together. You're literally watching me grow on a daily basis. You're not seeing every single thing, but you know, like a little POV moment.
Yeah, that it's ultimately that connection that's making things all go. Okay, Kennedy, where can everybody find you on social media, and is there anything else you want people to know about?
You can find me on all socials at Kennedy.Ryon. Ryan is spelled Ryon. And I would just say, you know, stay tuned. I'm humbly speaking, I'm ready to just step into greatness. And just continue building. Continue to like set and like open new lanes. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Kosh, do you have any just final thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, you brought up something about, you asked her, I believe, about what, I guess, tactics are creating the most sales. So I did want to just make that a little bit more practical. Because I mean, it does stem from everything she's saying, but in terms of like what it looks like people mentally opted in to whatever you're doing at that point because they feel connected to you as a human being and they feel like they can access you. So that could be anything from merch. I know a lot of people start with merch. We didn't even start with merch. We really started with music. And I think a big piece that Kennedy brings up is that we're not selling people things all the time. And I think that created more value in the long run. Like, we spent 2 years basically just connecting with people and giving them content and giving them music, and music being a part of the content. And now we're able to do sold out tours, right? We're able to sell pretty much whatever we want as long as it brings value to the fan or to the supporter. And we include them in that process. So we're constantly tapping people and surveying them and asking them, is this something you would be interested in, before we're just going and making it and trying to sell it to them. So that's kind of the biggest piece that I want to say about that. But I would just say, yeah, just watch out for us. We're just not going to stop. And we're excited to see where it goes.
Well said. Well said. Ben, is there any final thoughts you want to add? And then also, you know, let them know, hey, where they can find Kaizen Place, what it can do for artists as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll comment maybe on a starting point for a lot of artists that maybe are in either the beginning or the middle phase of like, I'm starting to really take this serious. I think something that can be the most powerful first step is to identify who your number one biggest fan is and try to make another one of those. So like literally picture their name. If their name is Ben, then make another Ben. And that will actually go super far, rather than chasing a large number of something that the meaning or the impact of it is ambiguous. I think it's really important to figure out who's your next Ben, who's your next super fan, and make one more of those, then make 2 more of those, then make 10 of those. Because those are the people who really drive things, like kind of make your engine start to go. And so kind of related to your question about like what drives the most sales as well, those people drive the most financial support. So we often tell people, kind of transitioning to, you know, how we can help do that with Kaizen Place. We tell people, do you have a release coming up? Do an early access campaign for that, and just use it to capture email and phone numbers from the people who want early access. That will tell you a lot. It'll identify who are those people, and now get to know those people and why are they connected with me, and how do I find more people like them? So that's what I would say the starting point is. As far as Kaizen Place, yeah, you can find us on the URL, just kaizen.place. You can get started totally for free. And there's always a like book a call option with us too. We're very hands-on with pretty much everybody on the platform. So yeah, we're really accessible to help people get the most out of it, especially if there's a release coming up or a strategy they have in mind that they want some extra guidance on. But yeah, kaizen.place, same as Instagram, kaizen.place. And you can get started totally for free.
All right, man. This was really insightful. I really appreciate everybody hopping on today. Kennedy, thank you for joining us and dropping some game. everything you're doing is super amazing, and I know they're going to find it super valuable. And congratulations on all your current and future success. So until the next one, everybody, we are signing out.